Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Oregon Women in Higher Education webinar series. Today we're having our webinar for October, which is building a model for professional development and mentoring the next generation of women. I will actually let the presenters introduce themselves and give you a little more background of who they are and what they're doing here, but they'll be sharing most of this webinar with you. I did want to let you know there is an upcoming webinar in November on the 15th, Transforming into a Learning Organization, with some folks from the University of Oregon. I also wanted to give a plug for the upcoming Oregon Women in Higher Education Conference, which is coming up in January. We have a lot of great programs that fit the 4 different categories mentioned here: meaningful community, personal growth, professional growth and advancement, and systemic change and empowerment. It's a really great conference and a way for you to connect to other women and allies in the state, and I really encourage you to do that. With that, I actually will hand it over to the presenters who will share their screen with you.
Thank you, and I think we're all ready to go as soon as Debbie brings up our slides, so I'll go ahead and do introductions. I'm Linda Samick. I'm the provost at George Fox University, and with us today we also have Debbie Espinor, who is a faculty member in the College of Education and teaches some in our College of Business. Anna Berardi, who is a faculty member in our counseling program, Graduate School of Counseling. Robin Ashford, who is our e-librarian and works at our Portland Center Library and a lot online. And then Gloria Doherty, who is one of George Fox's educational technologists, and a lot of her work is with faculty across the university. So that's the team that you'll be hearing from today. I want to say from the beginning that the slides that you will see have a lot of information about our digital fluency initiative, and we're using that as an example, so it's a context for what we're actually talking to you about today, which is building a model for professional development and mentoring the next generation of women in higher education. Next. So this is something that we had been talking about for a long time at George Fox around thinking about building digital fluency for our faculty. A number of us had gotten interested in models that we had seen around the country, and we were looking for something that could be easily replicated and that could be used in areas beyond just digital fluency. And it has done much for us in providing networks and opportunities for women in particular who have leadership potential and have been leading this particular initiative. Next. So you'll see here for our digital fluency, we started as an initiative and sort of morphed into an institute. Our mission statement and our desired outcomes. And one of the things that I would say about this is whatever the initiative is that you are looking at beginning or enhancing or supporting on your particular campus, that these two pieces, a mission statement and your desired outcomes, are really significant and need to be developed on the front end of anything that you do. The outcomes have been really important, as our president and our board of trustees who approved funding for our work have asked for our progress reports as we've been involved in this initiative. So those things have become really critical to us as we think about our stakeholders in this process. Next. So we ended up with what we have been calling a peer-assisted model. This came from listening to faculty. We did a number of surveys and conversations, and we knew that we needed to spend some time improving the fluency in digital worlds with our faculty. So we tried a number of things over the years, full presentations to the entire faculty at conferences, breakout groups, brown bag lunches, a whole variety of online training things, and many of those had mixed results. So it became clear that what faculty were really looking for was one-on-one tutoring. So we started looking for a way that we could actually do that. As we were looking for grants and thinking about creative ways to fund this, we discovered that in digital fluency, most of the grants that were out there were for K-12, which certainly didn't work for us. We were not eligible for any of those. So then we looked at our budget internally in the university, and at that point in time, so this would have been about 2013, it was not considered an essential need and did not make it into budget requests. But then in spring of 2015, we had innovation funding that was available at the university that we could apply for. And so we did that, and we developed a 5-year plan for this project, and we're funded for the first year with $85,000 for a pilot year. And as I mentioned, those outcomes that we looked at earlier were really important as we reported our progress and then requested funding to continue with this project.
Robin?
Yeah, so as the e-learning librarian, one of my roles here has been to help with resourcing, and so that we could be informed by the data that is available out there. And one of our favorite resources is through EDUCAUSE, especially their research reports, their e-CAR report. And so there are a couple here that are very specific to what they're finding as they survey all of higher ed, as far as faculty and student impressions about technology integration and so forth. So this has been very helpful for us, and we've been following these each year as things evolve, and things have been evolving. So next. This is from the brand new New Media Consortium Horizon report from 2017. And I thought it was interesting that things are evolving. And if you look at e-CAR and the Horizon reports from 2015, 16, and 17, you can see the evolution and how things are moving along, albeit somewhat slowly at certain areas. I notice here it is talking about how we all know that technology enhanced learning is impacting every area of campus life. And we are seeing students who are very involved with inventing, iterating, and so forth, collaborating. This is happening now. And I'd say the area where it says instructors have been transplanted from their position as sage on the stage to guide on the side, this is just beginning to happen from what we can see here. But it is happening, and that's what's exciting about it. And then the next line where it says there is a need for mentoring and coaching as students work through these complex problems to explore new frontiers and gain concrete skills. And as student-led class discussions delve deeper into the material, faculty must balance that student-centered approach with subtle but effective facilitation. So again, I see that this is happening. We see this here. And but that mentoring need goes both ways, both with students and faculty, and it's exciting to watch this begin to really take hold. Next.
This is Debbie, and I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about some of our data that we're using to work with as we move ahead. The 5 of us got together over dinner and we're talking about technology and integration into the classroom. And we started wondering about our faculty at George Fox, and because we know of the amazing things that certain faculty do, and we also know of the not so amazing things that certain faculty do. So we developed a survey, a self-reporting survey for faculty, and we got a great response on it, mainly because we had told them that we would give an iPad at the end. So we got great response on it. But some of the things that we learned was when they would want to learn, and you can see down under timing that it's pretty mixed, but mainly spring is not very good. And so we've been doing both summer and May term work and a little bit in January. As far as format, most folks really like the personal learning communities working together with this. And then 25% like mentoring. And when you add those two together, that is a significant portion of our population. And as much as we would love to reward them with a stipend, that funding has gone away for us. And so we're working with new faculty as we move forward, and they are highly motivated to do that. So when we look at the numbers of folks who have come on and worked with us, I've just broken this down into the different colleges and the number of participants. Our College of Arts and Sciences is one of our larger departments, and therefore it isn't really surprising that we have so many faculty. But we do believe, as the part of the mentoring process, that is a groundswell. This is rising from the bottom, not pushing down from the top. And this is where we're beginning, after 3 years, to really start to see some of the change in the pedagogy of the faculty. We had more than 79 faculty apply, and we've only had room for 46 to participate. And then the past 3 years, we've had 54 new faculty. And you will see as we move forward, we will be working with all new faculty every year. But we feel like we've hit a critical mass with the faculty that we've done so far. When faculty applied for the Digital Fluency Institute or the BOOTCAMP in the summertime, I just did a quick Wordle to see some of the things that they said, and they were really interested. You can see they really want to work well with students. They want to be the best teachers for students. And that really comes out in their applications. They're interested in hybrid learning. They're interested in developing courses. They're interested in online learning. And they're interested in really using the best technology to enhance their pedagogy. This is kind of a sample. Thought you'd enjoy to see a sample of what our boot camp looks like, where we do a lot of different things. The interesting part about our boot camp is we usually survey all of the participants ahead of time and give them a bunch of choices. And then we build our boot camp around their interest levels. Anna?
Oh, actually, I think this is Robin. Yeah.
Robin.
So, yeah, one more resource here. This is from the EDUCAUSE site on about mentoring, and just thought it would help to have some context, a definition of sorts. So I like in the second part where it says, at its most basic, mentoring is collaboration, a caring, sharing, and encouraging relationship with a focus on the enhancement of the proteges or mentees' growth and skill development. From my own personal experience, having mentored faculty as part of the DFI, it really is a caring, sharing, and encouraging relationship, very much so, especially when you have only one or two folks that you're working with. You get to know each other, and you really get to hear and listen and hear exactly what their area of interest is and how we can help. And it's very much a collaboration, and we actually end up being quite good friends through this whole process. So it's been very, very positive for most folks, I think, that have been involved in this. Next.
Hi, this is Anna. I'm going to walk you through some of the structural elements as it then ties in with some of our guiding vision and values. So overall, what our goal is to move from our planning team of 5, all of us on that team are here today, and move to having each college have its own DFI director and a set of mentors that can work with faculty. So we start out with a blank slate. Next. In our first year, we had 15 faculty, and we targeted our College of Arts and Sciences because it had the most number of faculty who were unfamiliar with digital technologies. And in that college, we found 2 persons experienced enough to actually serve as mentors. Next. The second year, it expanded. We found mentors in the College of Engineering, and we increased our number of faculty. Next. And then year 3, this year, we have 2 directors. We had our first director come on last year. This year, we were able to add a second director. And you see the expanding groups of persons involved. And next. And this spring, we will be adding a whole group of incoming faculty in our new model, which Debbie's going to walk us through in a moment. But by the end of this year, we will have had 78 faculty participating in the DFI, whether as mentees or mentors, and serving in leadership roles as directors. So as Linda said, just looking at the numbers of our full-time faculty, resident faculty, not looking at adjuncts, we're averaging over the past couple of years 200 to 220, and we are almost at half of our existing faculty having involvement with DFI. What this is illustrating, just in this visual form, if we're familiar with the movie Up, where the resident, this man, his home no longer worked where it was. Like our colleges and universities, some of the ways we function in the classroom is becoming outdated, doesn't work for the needs of today's students and what is needed out there in the job market after they graduate. So he seeks to relocate his home by attaching a bunch of balloons and allowing the home to float to a new location, only to find that there's this internal substantive paradigm shift in him that's required, not just learning a skill, such as an ed technology skill, but a whole shift, a mind shift in the way we understand learning and engagement. And so this balloon lifting up all of our colleges has begun a transforming process. Next. So we talked a little bit, Robin talked a little bit about motivating faculty to add something into their busy lives, like learning all of this, a way of thinking about pedagogy while they're learning digital technologies. And Linda described how our data showed us that peer mentoring was the way to go. Next. And so as we design this, and Debbie mentioned this, we have a few guiding principles that are key to how we nurture this program of change. We're trying to create a paradigm change. One is participant voice, and you see participant voice and mutual partnership built into those first 5 elements there, really honoring them, giving them leadership and ownership, and giving them informed consent, helping them understand what we're doing and why. So when they sign on, they are signing on with intentionality and also some control over the process. And then initially, we really did need to provide incentives for honoring their time, such as compensation. And then we're being data informed. We're not taking for granted that this is going to work. We really want to, and beyond anecdotal evidence, we really want to see clearly that it is working. The incentives have changed. Linda and her team have worked over the past number of years creating a robust, I call it an onboarding process for our first year faculty. They go through an extensive orientation program, and we've been able to fold in the boot camp elements to a pre-existing program for incoming faculty that is just in time as some of the incentive money is running out. And we've hit critical mass where we don't need to run the boot camps for the traditional faculty as much. Next. What we're doing primarily is focusing on course construction and pedagogy, digital methods, and then evaluating what we're doing through formative and summative assessment. And that takes the form of helping faculty learn about flipped classrooms and the technology involved in that, professional online engagement, to expand their understandings of what's going on in the online world. It's not just games and toys and social media in a private way, but this is where professionals are engaging. And then also online course builds. Many faculty want tools and techniques that look like they're fitting in that right side, and we want them to see it in the context of some of those larger themes on the left side there. Next. And then accountability, we're basically looking at our faculty working towards what they said they wanted to work on, especially since we were compensating them. Are they learning about pedagogy? The end user or beneficiary is the student. So are we seeing evidence in student learning and engagement? And then how is our structure working? This peer mentoring model, how is it working? Next. And this is just an expanded view of some of the elements that we assess our own functioning as a DFI team and program. Next. And what we have found is that the elements of our program have a life cycle. Debbie is going to go into more detail about how the current model is looking, so I'll turn it over to Debbie.
Well, Anna, thank you. I'm going to just review this one as we go through. This is a circle in the year with 12 o'clock being the faculty survey that we initiate with. All new faculty get the same survey that we did 3 years ago that the existing faculty took. So we've been building and building and building the data from that and able to compare across the years. So the new faculty come in. The existing faculty that were here, they applied in February and March. And in that process, Anna would help identify some that might be mentors. And then we'd have a summer boot camp, usually the first or second week in August. And that is, that's the part that's going away. But it was a 40-hour boot camp that faculty were reimbursed for, and we spent 40 hours working hard. They would come in with a syllabus, and they would come in with goals, and the mentors would help them talk about those goals. And oftentimes we discovered something interesting, that until the syllabus is sound, putting technology on top of it, on top of poor pedagogy, just makes poor quality classrooms with some technology added on top. So this is really where the mentors came in to begin to revisit and look at syllabi development, pedagogical work with that. And that's where we've seen a lot of growth and improvement. I'll tell you a little story about one of my mentees the first year. He was a faculty member that was highly successful, and his students loved him. And he never in 23 years used the LMS that George Fox used, which is called Foxtel. He never used it. And it didn't really seem to matter to his students or to himself. But when we started looking at just putting some of his courses in the LMS, what he discovered was that he was rebuilding all of his courses every single semester, which was a lot of work. And he also took the opportunity to learn how to make a Google form, and he asked his students if they were interested in helping him and working with him as he moved along the technology train. And it was one of the most encouraging years for him, as students were really on board with helping him and telling him what things really worked for them. So that when we get to encouraging mentors, those are the conversations that we can have that are specific to the people that we're working with. We did an assessment in the fall. And then on the campus EdTech workshops, those happen regardless. Gloria, are you here?
I believe she's not. She had to step
Okay.
away.
Gloria and her team put together, oh gosh, Linda, 6, 7, 8 workshops throughout the year.
Well, there are a lot more than that available, Debbie, because they have a whole series online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's lots of opportunities for folks to get together over lunch and talk about the new ed tech things that are coming out. In spring, we would start right at the beginning of our spring semester with new faculty, and they had a one-day camp. And oftentimes they got so interested in this that they would be a lot of the applicants for the next year's boot camp. And we'd do an assessment, and then we'd celebrate in the spring with a special DFI gift mug with our logo on it that Anna made. Now, this is where we're moving, and This is where you have to be nimble in this day and age, as that word is probably overused. But Linda and the team have been thinking about ways to keep this going for a really long time. And we now are moving our 40-hour boot camp into a 5-day training session throughout the whole year for new faculty. They do not get extra compensation for that. That is just part of being a new faculty member at George Fox now. And so they get their survey, and then we have a 1-day orientation before fall semester. Most of the times, they are just wide-eyed looking at us like we are, you know, if we add one more thing to their plate, they would probably tip over. So we don't make it too difficult for them. We just do a little training on the learning management systems that we have. And then we work with the mentors in the fall. In the winter, we're going to be doing in January, before the semester starts, we are going to have a 2-day boot camp for new faculty, followed up by another 2-day boot camp the after spring semester when they're still under contract. And hopefully during those 4 days, we'll work with some of the areas that they're really interested in developing themselves and begin to look at next year, because they will have survived their first year. And now they can really start thinking about where they would like to add some things in. And then we'll do our assessment and our celebration as well. And the new faculty will have one-on-one mentors all the second semester. We are choosing not to do a lot this year with mentors, as new faculty have a lot on their plates to think about. So we're transitioning, and I think I've gone through most of this here. I do think that we want to have, what we do is we get our mentors to come in and speak during the boot camps. So it's not just the team, the lead team, that does a lot of the work here. Faculty who have been very successful working through a lot of the technologies will come in and be our guest speakers. And that has worked really well for our particular model. Linda, do you want to talk about down the road?
Sure. So I just want to reiterate that, you know, we're talking here about a digital fluency initiative, but actually this could apply in a number of areas, and we're using it in several other areas at George Fox right now. So we are working on something that we have learned from folks at Oregon State, which is a search advocacy position. As we're hiring and thinking about diversity, we're preparing faculty and staff and administrators to do a much better job at recruiting, inviting, interviewing, hiring faculty who are different than the faculty we have currently at George Fox. And so this process has been really important there. We also have a new initiative working with our current faculty of color to support them as they you know, are on a journey to being successful faculty members in a place like Newburgh. And so this model is something that we have used across the university in a variety of ways. And so as we go down the road, we're always thinking into the future. And some of the things that we think are important for this particular digital fluency piece, we ran across something called iChamps. And if you Google that, you will find that it's a program using student mentors for faculty, and it comes out of the University of Southampton in the UK. So this idea of partnering, collaborating, mentoring can be not just for faculty, but including everyone across the university and including our students, which is really important. We're also thinking about the possibility of, you know, as we help people develop new skills, how do they think about you know, letting people know that they are available to mentor themselves. And so certificate programs, thinking about moving deeper into working with the staff at the university. Our adjunct faculty is a whole nother population that we have not had time to work with yet. And then we would love at some time, you know, if this moved into a full-time center for faculty development. That isn't high on our priority list right at the moment, because I think what I would say is that some of the most important lessons we have learned don't always require a person or a space or a huge budget, and maybe those are some of the biggest takeaways that we have. So I wanted to just say before we wrap up our presentation, some of the most important things that we have learned through this whole process. I think that on the front end, I mentioned the importance of having a clear mission and outcomes that you are expecting. I think that that's critical for a whole bunch of reasons. So staying focused and thinking about if you're going to attract additional funding or other participants, or just all kinds of reasons, that really clear mission and expectations is important. And then as we have been saying all the way through, most people, I think, at some point in time prefer to learn new things with a one-on-one mentor, where you can ask questions, where you can see something new modeled, where you can sort of tell them where your anxieties and fears are, and you have an opportunity to work with someone who is also learning alongside you is really important. So that peer mentoring model is really critical. I would say too that what has helped us grow this initiative and spread it, and this would be true of whatever you're working on, being really transparent with your results and progress that you make, and making sure that you are reporting in places that are people who are going to help further what you're working on becomes really important. So doing that regularly is critical. And then you heard Debbie and Anna both talk about some of the surveys that we have done. And I think that listening to your audience is just incredibly important. So however you do that, focus groups, we use a lot of Google Forms online. We listen to people as they are participating in boot camp and other sessions. There are just lots of ways that we try to hear our audience. So the boot camp that we did the first year didn't look a lot like boot camp the second year, and certainly not much like boot camp the third year, and not much like what we're doing with our new faculty, because listening to the people who are working with you is just really critical. And then I think the last thing I would say is that you also need to be willing to not necessarily own this as an individual. I think it works best if you have a group that is sort of facilitating the work and maybe shaping it a little bit, but allow it to grow and cascade and kind of take on a life of its own and see where it goes. I think that's really helpful. And then I think all of you will have access to this presentation. And if you go back to the slide that's titled DFI Structure and Vision, you will find some of the most important things that we learned from this process. So I think the last slide, Debbie, is just thank you for being here today. We really appreciated the opportunity to share with you a model that we think really offers an opportunity for women to grow their leadership skills in a collaborative way that works well for us and creates a whole community of peers who mentor each other and tackle difficult things that nobody can really do on their own. So that would be my maybe closing remark there. Thanks.
Do we have questions?
And do people know about the chat bar? If you open the chat bar, we've been doing a little bit of communicating as well. While everyone's thinking, I want to summarize some of the points you've heard from all of us today, and Linda, just into some of the elements. And I typed them in the chat bar. And
as Linda keeps reminding us, we hope you see this relevancy to change that you may want to institute in your area. We've used it in a couple of other places in the university. But the first element is the mission and focus. The second one is those desired outcomes. And those outcomes need to be relevant, practical, and doable. Collaborative in nature. That third element is all about some of the guiding values of how you want to implement the change program. And then incentives. Incentives are a way of honoring time or creating space, however you can create that or do that. And then finally, it's assessing the efficacy of what you're doing, and proving accountability to funding sources, and proving accountability to the people whose time you're asking. You're asking a lot of time of them.
So we can take questions either by unmuting your mic or by asking a question in the chat bar.
I have a quick question for you all. As you've been working on this project, have you ended up collaborating? You mentioned, well, have you been collaborating across institution or getting other ideas from folks? Because it's, I don't know, when you do initiatives like this, it's really important to make sure that the outcomes are relevant to your institution. And I was just wondering if you have specific partners that you've looked at that maybe have similar institution types to you or similar demographics.
Yeah, so I mentioned that, working with the search advocate piece, I wouldn't call Oregon State a particularly similar institution, but we have found people inside even a very large institution with goals that are very compatible with ours. And so we have people there, and we've been able to share this model at a number of conferences. And so we have connections with people in a variety of places that we've been sharing materials with. And so I wouldn't say that we're collaborating directly, but I think we've been encouraged to see that there's a lot of interest in the model. So we've been mostly internal.
And we've also, were referenced in the new Horizon report in 2017 that just came out a few weeks ago. One of our presentations is referenced in there. So that is a pretty wide audience that will hopefully get some chat across from.
Robin, has Gloria been able to rejoin us?
She hasn't.
Oh, okay. And I know Gloria's been very active in networking with ed technology specialists from a number of neighboring universities. And there's a lot of cross-pollination because, as Linda shared, regardless of the size of our institutions, we share in common goals and struggles and constraints, and just learning, just listening to how other universities and programs within those universities have problem solved has been very helpful for us.
Quite a few of our presentations have been like at Orate, and then the Northwest eLearn, and then this February we're going to be going down to the CCCU. Linda, what does that stand for, CCCU?
The Council for Christian Colleges and Universities.
Okay, they're having an international forum in the end of January, first part of February, that we'll be doing a presentation. And we're finding that has been the best way. People are very interested in our low budget model that actually seems to be working and influencing faculty.
And something I thought I may have heard a little bit in that question leads me to another maybe issue or struggle we've bumped up against, and that is sometimes we have faculty who've been a little bit reticent to become involved with the DFI because they are skilled in online pedagogy or digital technologies, and so they've wondered, you know, what is it that you have to teach me? And what we've done is we've learned from them. We've brought those folks in as mentors or workshop presenters, and then they have enjoyed some of the camaraderie and community that is built, and they begin to see, oh, this is not a top-down thing where somebody else is assuming that they know the right way or the best way to do it. It's about creating space for all of us to bring our knowledge and skill together and to be present with each other as we problem solve.
Well, do folks have any more questions for the group? I just wanted to thank all of you for presenting this topic to us, and I hope we had 60 people register for the webinar, and I plan to share this with them because I'm assuming a lot of people are busy as happens in higher education. And I wanted to wish you all the best of luck at the CCCU conference, the forum, and to talk about what you've created. That's pretty awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.